What's up, Net Soldiers? I'm Net Alliance. I recently got a question from a fan saying, hey, what are your favorite moments in Star Wars Episode 3? And so what I decided was, hey, instead of just Episode 3, why don't I just do the entire prequel trilogy? Now, as you guys know, the prequels aren't beloved by every single person. I personally don't mind them. Some parts are better than others, and I do personally think that there are some scenes, moments, and things that happen in these films that do warrant some sort of glory compared to the original trilogy. Everyone always usually craps on the prequels, but there are some parts that are actually pretty good, and so this list is going to be my top 10 best scenes from the prequel trilogy. And as always, if you enjoy this video, please remember to like and subscribe. So, with that out of the way, let's begin. At number 10, we have Episode 1, The Pod Race. A lot of people like to say this is the best scene in the prequel trilogy. I wouldn't say that. I would say it's a very fun scene. It's completely different from the rest of the film. A lot of people say that this film is just kind of bogged down by more boring dialogue, politics, and all that type of stuff, and the pod racing is the one scene in the entire film that just kind of feels fun. It seems as though George Lucas had fun with this scene, and it's true. You can kind of feel it as the scene moves on from left to right, left to right, left to right, and it keeps on moving. That's the nice thing about it. And I think it's definitely a fun scene and definitely deserves some type of recognition. Now at number 9, we have Episode 2, The Battle of Geonosis. This was a really cool look at what Clone Wars could have been. Now, of course, we've seen Clone Wars in the TV show, but it would have been really cool to see kind of more land battles in the films too. And although many of the CGI doesn't hold up as well as it did when it first came out, I think it still does a pretty good job of showing what the Clone Wars represents and how the Jedi are now going to be turning from these peacekeepers into these generals. So with that said, I think it does a pretty good job representing what the Jedi are going to go through in the films, the TV shows, the story, the canon, all of it. So I think it just does a good job at that. At number 8, we have Episode 2, Anakin Slays the Tusken Raiders. Now, for me, and I'm sure a lot of Star Wars fans, Attack of the Clones is the weakest Star Wars film, but there are some pretty cool moments sprinkled in within it, and I think this scene is definitely one of them. I like the emotion, the tension, the fact that you can feel Anakin's anger growing. It's almost like the first sign of Anakin truly embracing the dark side. And my only con with this scene is that I wish it was longer. I think it would have been really cool to just see Anakin just going ham, embracing that dark side, but, a man can dream, I guess. A man can dream. At number 7, we have Episode 3, The Battle of Coruscant. Now, I personally feel that Revenge of the Sith gets a bad rap because it's just bundled up as a prequel. It's for sure the best film out of the prequels, and in my opinion, it's one of the best Star Wars movies to date. And I personally feel that the opening scene sets the stage for the rest of the film. We see a much more experienced Anakin and a much more wise Obi-Wan, but they're still having fun while they're destroying droids, which is what they do. Plus, this film came out in 2005, and the CGI used for this space battle is just epic. I personally think it could be held up against the CGI of Rogue One and still look great. And with that said, it's a fun scene that kicks off the movie, so that's it. At number 6, I have Episode 2, Yoda's First Fight. Now, I know this particular scene split the fan base. Some people absolutely hated the fact that Yoda used a lightsaber, and to a point I understand why. Yoda was always considered more of a mystical being. He didn't do much fighting, he used the Force more often than anything else. The idea being the lightsaber was only because he was a Jedi, he was supposed to have a lightsaber, that's why he would have one. But in my opinion, I think it was cool to see Yoda use a lightsaber. I mean, like I previously mentioned, sure, he doesn't have to use it, but when it comes down to it, I like the idea of him having one. Because, like I said, he's a Jedi, he should have one. And to be able to go toe-to-toe with Count Dooku, who we just saw wreck Anakin and Obi-Wan's day, that just goes to show how powerful Yoda really is. And although we already knew Yoda was powerful, I like the idea of seeing a representation of that power, and I think that's what we got in this scene. And that's why I have this at number 6. At number 5, we have Episode 3, Anakin Kills Dooku. Now yes, this fight is pretty brief compared to some of the other ones in the franchise. But honestly, for me, I think that's okay, because it wasn't about the fight itself, it was about the impact of what happens after the fight. The repercussions of Anakin using his anger to finish off Dooku. And although I would personally say Anakin made the right choice by killing off Dooku because yeah, Dooku was a dangerous guy, he was unarmed, or perhaps I should say unhanded, because he lost his hands. So it probably wasn't Anakin's best call, especially since he's a Jedi and Jedi don't kill unarmed prisoners. But another really cool part about this scene is that it shows just how far Anakin has come since episode 2. Think about it, in the second film, he does a pretty decent job taking on Dooku, but once Dooku turns on his power, he just completely wrecks Anakin's day. And in this scene, it shows just how far Anakin has come since that. So not only is this a massive turning point for the story, but it's also a massive turning point for Anakin. And that's why I have it at number 5. Coming in at number 4, I have episode 1, Duel of Fates. To many fans, this is an epic conclusion to a film that's just kind of meh. And from a certain point of view, I do understand that criticism. In fact, I actually know people today who saw The Phantom Menace in theaters like 10 times just for the fight scene at the end. No joke, that thing was revolutionary. And although some would argue that it ruined the lightsaber fight, I say it improved it. It's truly the first time the Sith have ever really reared their head. And it falls onto the shoulders of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to take down Maul. And as we know, I guess I should do spoiler alert, Qui-Gon dies. But luckily, Obi-Wan's able to take down Darth Maul once and for all. Well, until the Clone Wars rolls around and the fans bring Maul back. But then again, Kenobi gets his kill back in Rebels anyways, so whatever. But like I previously mentioned, Duel of Fates raised the bar for a lightsaber fight. It had action, it had emotion, and most of all, it had an epic score. And it all came together to make an awesome scene, and one of the best scenes of the entire Star Wars franchise. At number 3, we have episode 3, the theater scene. Now this is the only scene on this entire list that does not have action in it, so you know it's gotta be good. So we have Anakin and Palpatine in this theater, and Palpatine tells Anakin the story of Darth Plagueis. And I personally just love how this scene is played out, because there's so many elements going on in the scene. First, we have Palpatine slowly planting seeds of the dark side in Anakin's mind. Second, we get a little more backstory on Palpatine, and although it doesn't directly say it's him, we can just infer it. And third, Palpatine tells Anakin that a Jedi cannot learn the ability to save people, for only a Sith can do it. Honestly, this is one of the strongest scenes in the entire Star Wars franchise. And there's literally not that much to it, it's just a guy telling a story. But like I mentioned, it's the context of the story and the emotion of the scene that really just drives this entire scene home. At number 2, we have episode 3, Order 66. This is one of the saddest scenes in the entire franchise in my opinion. For not only does it show the literal death of the Jedi, but also the death of the Jedi Order. Plus, it's truly a turning point for when the dark side has truly prevailed. And when darkness prevails, the light dies. And we can slowly start to feel that light die inside of ourselves as well as we see the Jedi fall one by one. And the part where Yoda grabs his chest because he can't believe what he's feeling, it always gets me. Now I don't cry because I'm a man. I'm a big strong man. But it definitely pulls at the heartstrings, and that's why Order 66 is number 2 on this list. And at number 1, I have episode 3, Anakin versus Obi-Wan. This entire scene, from beginning to end, is just epic. It's got action, it's got stakes, it's got choreography, it's got emotion, it's got an awesome score, it's got everything. And although many people complain about the fight scene being too long, I'm okay with that. For this fight with Anakin and Obi-Wan, plus I guess at the same time, Yoda's fight with the Emperor, this is the personification of the light versus the dark. Obi-Wan and Yoda are essentially the last piece of the light, and in a last-ditch effort they go to take down the darkness. But unfortunately, they fail. Even though technically Obi-Wan does defeat Anakin, his fight really solves nothing, for the dark side still prevails in the end. And Palpatine gets his way. From the beginning of the fight where Anakin chokes out Padme and Obi-Wan has to step in, then their duel takes them through the factory and all that stuff, even on top of the lava, Anakin is full of rage. He has truly become Darth Vader, and you can see that in his eyes. Remember, we're talking about episode 3 Anakin Skywalker, that is his prime. And the entire time he's fighting, Obi-Wan is trying his best to keep up because Anakin is really powerful. And although we've seen the original trilogy, and we already know the culmination of the story, I think this final fight scene between the light and the dark is the best scene in the Star Wars prequels. But these are my top 10 favorite scenes. What are your top 10? Let me know in the comments below. Please remember to like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.